Hello there everyone, today I'm gonna teach you step by step how to use Morph Editor, for those who still don't know how to do so. Alright, so, before we begin, each of you Roblox players have the ability to use Morph Editor, but only in private servers. There's some people that can use it in public servers because they're trusted by the admins or the owner himself. And maybe or not, one day you'll be trusted by one of them, and probably get the ability to use Morph Editor in public servers as well, but you must not ask for having their trust or having Morph Editor public, it gets frustrating over time. Now, let's begin. Once you enter your private or any other private servers, you'd see two different buttons on the left side of your screen. In this video we won't need the PSC button cause we'll be focusing on the ME button, as for Morph Editor. Once you click on it, you'll see a board appearing on your screen. On the top of the board, you could see an empty bar with below saying, Morph name of the morph you're editing. It's like the base morph you'll use before changing some settings about it to make an original character out of it. These bases morphs includes all the objects there is in the solar system, that could also include the hypothetical ones only for those who has the Hypo Game Pass. There's also some special ones that they added a while ago that I usually use, the template for atmosphereless objects, like most of the moons, most of the dwarf planets, and Mercury, template rings for atmosphereless objects but that has rings, like Quaoar and Haumea, template atmosphere for objects with atmosphere but ringless, like Mars, Venus, Earth, etc., the template rings atmosphere for both. And the others design the types of brown dwarf stars. Just below the base morph bar, you could see a second bar asking for the texture override, aka the object's surface texture, by only including its ID as it says below. On how to find an object's aka, planet or moon or dwarf planet, etc. You can just search it on Google or another website, it won't be too hard really. So as you can see, I searched for IO's surface texture and scrolled down until I found an interesting texture in the right corner of my screen. So, I want to use it for an original character. But how can I get its ID? Well, just download it, and make sure it's in one of these formats. But wow, you might be wondering how I got in that page with all these textures I use for Morph Editor. First, you have to enter on your Roblox's website and click on Create. Once you arrive here, click on Dashboard, then on Items for Development, now on Decals, and here we are once again. Of course you won't have all these textures since it's not your account. But anyway, back to our main question. How to get the surface texture I downloaded earlier's ID? Well, first you'll have to upload it here, so click on Upload Content. Then you'll end up here, so just click on Download. Then you could give it a name and or a description if you want. Once done, scroll down a little and click on Download. And here I go, I got the planet's texture I wanted, added to my collection. Now to get its ID, you'll just have to click on Copy Content ID, and you'll have it. Now back to our little game. You'll just have to paste its ID on the texture override bar. Now below that earlier board, we got to see another bar about the planet's size override. They used the reference of one that is equal to the size of Earth in this game. So right now I choose this planet to be the same size as Earth, as you can see. Now, for the planet's rotation override, aka the axial tilt, you'll have to use a base tilt that is an average of 0 degrees tilt such as this. From that, if you want your planet to have a tilt, one that is similar to Earth, you could write it this way. Again, below that there's a bar saying, Morph to use voice of, and its pitch. Here for example, if I want to use Earth's voice and same pitch. Here, the bar saying, Morph to use emotions of or emote set name, aka the morph's face you want to use for your original character. You could use one of the solar system's objects' face and emotions, for example, Mercury's. Here an example: if I want to change the original character's voice, have a more feminine face, like Arissa's, and have a bow, like Venus's. The planet's oblateness kinda designs on the planet's shape. If you want it to be a almost perfect sphere, the oblateness reference is 1. They also explain the shape it would have with a number below 1 and 1 above. Here's a little fun fact: there is currently 2 forms of bows you can use, that of Venus, and also that of Boreas. You can also change the bow's color thanks to color codes. I'll give you a really useful color code site in the description. Here's a little demonstration. If I want my planet to have an atmosphere, I'll just have to write all the way on the first bar, template atmosphere. And from that on, it'll add a new bar that is the atmosphere color override hex code, aka the atmosphere's color. From that part I'll also recommend you to use that same site I put in the description to use a color code. And also, if you're wondering, there's currently only one type of atmosphere. You can make it depend with the color hex you choose. Now, if I want to make my planet airless with rings with template rings, the atmosphere color override bar would then disappear, and would be replaced by a new one that is the ring textures and its size. And also, to have the ring texture you want, do the same as you did for the planet's surface texture, and they must look like that, as if you were looking at those from above, and make them in a PNG format, as if there was no backgrounds. The rings would be much smaller than you thought, and would be cutting through our test subject over here, and that's because I didn't put the size of the rings. With such detailed large rings, instead of putting a size of 17, I'll put a size of 40. When the planet has a certain tilt, the rings follows it as well. Now if I want my planet to have both the rings and the atmosphere, I'll have to use template rings atmosphere. This way the atmosphere color bar would reappear while the ring's texture stands still. There's few things I haven't showed you yet, one of them being for example one of the tools you can use in the flag bar, distance texture flag. Once put and correctly programmed, the planet would act like Earth as it moves, changing its spots distances. From that on, after putting distance texture flag in the flag bar, you'll have to go right up towards the planet's texture override bar, and that's when you'll put the texture that'll remain on the planet, depending its current distance. To show you in base program for one texture for two distances, it should look like that in some sorts. And for putting more textures for different distances, you'll have to do the same as I showed you as a base, but they must be separated by a semicolon. Here's a demonstration. And just to warn you, by the moment you use the distance texture flag and put only one distance texture program in the planet's texture override instead of at least two, your texture will remain on your planet only on its minimum and maximum distances range, but if you go out of it then, your planet turns completely black. And also, just putting programs on it for two distance ranges without being careful to put the furthest distance on infinite, like writing this. Here what will be happening. As expected, you turn black once again. That's why you have to put the maximal distance of the entire programs at infinite. This way, the texture will stand on not changing on how incredibly far you are as long you don't cross a distance range that'll make you change texture to another one you put in your program. As you could see by scrolling all the way down in your board, you'll see bars about import and export strings, aka importing your saved original character and saving your original character. On how to save your character, it's simple. There's a signal telling to click here to export, so do it. And then copy the code they show you and paste somewhere in your device or outside your device, for example on a paper, that you won't forget about. Anyway, so, if you want to import your saved character, you'll have to copy the code you pasted somewhere as a memo and paste it in the import string bar and then click Morph. I guess that was all I had to show you for the tutorial on how to use Morph Editor on Afotss the game. I'll leave the link of the game in the description if you want to play it. I hope this tutorial was helpful. If you have any other question about that, you should leave a comment on that video, and well, have a great day there.